From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
Here to read from The Girl Who Drank the Moon is Kelly Barnhill.
Oh my, I'm very concerned I might trip. That's all right. If I trip, it won't be the first time that I have fallen off of a stage because I'm very klutzy. So I apologize right now. Hello, everyone. My name is Kelly Barnhill. I write books with magic in them. So before we begin, I know we have 25 minutes together, and I don't want to have me talk too long because I know that you guys have a lot of questions. Part of being a kid is that you're basically composed of questions. I know a lot of you have questions about how books get written. I know a lot of you have questions about where ideas come from. I know you have questions about how you can come back to the same story day after day after day and make something happen again. So what I want you to do for me right now is save your questions up because I want, my favorite part of any presentation is when you guys ask questions and I answer them and we can talk a little bit about it, okay? Now before we begin, just so I can get a sense of grades, how many of you guys are in third grade? How many third graders do we have? Can you raise your hand? We have one third grader, awesome. 2, that's cool. 3 third graders, third grade is 4, 5, wow. Third grade is a really good grade. I remember being in third grade, it was the first time I learned about ancient Egypt, and it was super cool and kind of blew my mind. How many of you guys are fourth graders? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Whoa, even more than 12. There's a lot of fourth graders here today. I love fourth graders. Part of my job, one of my many jobs that I have, is I go around the state of Minnesota where I live and I do creative writing workshops. I do story writing workshops with kids. And I will say there is something magical that happens in fourth grade. Fourth graders, I think, are actually magical. And they write amazing stories. Every time, no matter what kind of school I'm in, fourth graders are magic. How many of you guys are in fifth grade? Awesome. Oh my gosh. So fifth grade is an amazing grade because you guys are about to start something brand new, right? You're about to become something else. You're about to become middle schoolers. How many of you are in middle school? Awesome. Well done, you guys. This is awesome. Okay, so this is my book. It's called The Girl Who Drank the Moon. I love writing books with magic in it. This is a story about a 500-year-old witch and a poetry-quoting swamp monster who may or may not be as old as the world, and a perfectly tiny dragon who suffers from delusions of grandeur, and he thinks he's so giant he's bigger than a house, but actually he's so small that he fits in your pocket. And they all have to raise a magical baby. It's not really what the story is about. It sort of is, though. I wanted to write a story about a place where every year they participate in a terrible, terrible crime. This town, it's called the Protectorate. It is sandwiched between a bog that covers half of the world that you cannot cross, and on one side, and on the other side, there is a very, very dangerous forest. It is so dangerous that it is very difficult to get through it. And what the people of the Protectorate believe is that the reason why that forest is dangerous is because there is a witch in the woods. Yes, they say, yes, there is a witch in the woods. And the only way to keep that witch from coming and destroying them all is that they have to, every year, take a baby, the youngest baby in the protectorate, and leave it in the forest for the witch to take. So they have to sacrifice a baby every year. And because of this terrible crime, and because everyone is complicit in it, the entire protectorate is it's a sorrowful, terrible place. They live in this cloud of sorrow. And because of that sorrow, nobody really seems to notice the fact that the Council of Elders owns everything in the town and everyone else has nothing. And nobody seems to notice that the Council of Elders runs everything in the town and nobody else in the town has any kind of power at all. Now, the Council of Elders, they don't believe in the witch. They never have. For them, it's a convenient fiction. Unpleasant, yes, unpleasant. But it's convenient for them because it allows them to maintain this life that they've always had, right? Now, what the Council of Elders do not know is that there really is a witch. Her name is Zan. She's 500 years old, and every year she comes to the same place in the forest, and once again, somebody has left a baby just sitting right there in the forest. And she can't just leave the baby there because the baby will die. So she does what all of us would do if we saw a baby that has been abandoned in the woods. What would we do? We'd save the baby, right? We'd save the baby, obviously. And so she does what any sensible witch would do. She gathers the baby up, and over the years, she has taken certain precautions. She has brought a blanket, because I'm probably going to find a baby. I always find one every year. She brings a blanket to wrap the baby up. She brings a bottle of goat's milk to feed the baby. Now, the forest is very dangerous, and it's very dangerous because it's a volcanic landscape, and so it's very tricky to get across. Zan knows how because of cleverness and know-how and also magic too. And on the other side of the forest, there's a bunch of cities that are called the Free Cities that are really pleasant places, and they don't have bizarre, terrible things that they do every single year. And so she decides that she's going to take the baby across the forest and find the perfect family for each baby. And she carries the baby across, and she feeds them the goat's milk whenever the tummy gets empty. And when the goat's milk runs out, she does what any sensible witch would do. She reaches her hands up to the night sky, and she gathers starlight as gossamer. Well, I can see from your faces that you already know why. I mean, starlight is an excellent baby food. Ask any witch, right? And so by the time she gets to the other side of the forest, these babies are star-filled and blessed. And they are funny and clever and kind, and they make wonderful daughters and sons and wonderful brothers and sisters, and they grow up to be good at what they do and excellent members of the community and wonderful parents, and they are successful, and when they die rich. This has literally been happening for 300 years. Now, as this story opens, certain things don't happen according to plan. Things don't happen in the normal way. Number one, a mother fights for her baby. She fights and she fights and she fights and she kicks and she scratches and she pulls people's hair out and she says, "You do not get to take my child." Well, everybody says she is crazy. She must be insane. And so they lock her up in the tower as the mad woman. And they take the baby and they leave it in the forest. Now, when Zan arrives, another thing that happens that is not particularly usual is that there is a boy who's 12 years old, and his name is Antane. And Antane is an elder in training. But he bears witness to this terrible scene of this mother fighting for her baby. Normally, people just give their babies up. That's just what everybody does. But Antane sees this. And he, all by himself and trying to hide from the adults, that he's crying. And he's so terrified and horrified by what he's seeing that becomes a question in his heart. Why? Why do we do this? And can we do something else? And as he grows, that question in his heart is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it's going to turn into a plan. Okay? The third thing that happens is that Zan the witch, she comes across this baby and she wraps the baby up and she notices that the baby has a birthmark on her forehead. It's in the shape of a crescent moon. And it's just a random birthmark. There's nothing special about it. But Zan has one too. She has that same birthmark. And this has never happened to her before. She's never seen a baby who kind of looks like her. And she feels this sense of kinship with the baby. And so she finds herself taking the journey very, very slowly, because she wants to show the baby things, and she wants to sing the baby a song, and she wants to tell the baby a story, and she just wants to look in the baby's eyes. She's got big black eyes. She's a beautiful baby. And as she goes, she's giving the baby more and more and more starlight every night. And the baby becomes more and more and more star-filled. But what she doesn't notice is that the moon is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because that's what moons do. They wax and they wane, right? And then one night, the moon is all the way full. And Zan doesn't notice, and she reaches up to gather starlight, and she accidentally gets moonlight instead, and it is sticky and sweet on her fingers, and she feeds it to the baby. Well, I can see from your faces that you already can tell the problem here. If a witch gives full moonlight to a baby, she magics that baby permanently. It can't be undone. This is serious and old magic. And so now you've got a baby that's filled all the way filled to bursting with magic. And so anything could happen with a baby that is this magical. She could turn her caregiver into a bunny, and she does. She could make the cradle fly. She could burst things into flames. She has no idea what she's doing. How many of you have ever met a baby before? How much sense does a baby have? Not very much, huh? And so she can't just leave this baby with anybody because she's dangerous. And so Zan decides to bring the baby home and bring the baby up. So she goes to her home in the forest where she lives with a poetry-quoting swamp monster who may or may not be as old as the world, and a perfectly tiny dragon who suffers from delusions of grandeur. And they become a very loving, albeit very strange, little family. But here's the thing about children, and you guys are all kids, so you know this already. Children grow. Children grow. And as they grow, the questions inside of them get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so in the Protectorate, we've got Antane, who starts out to be 12 years old at the beginning and then eventually becomes a young man. And his question of why do we do this? That is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until he has a family of his own and has some really big problems in front of him. And Luna, the girl who drank the moon, Luna with the incredible magic inside her, she is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the questions about her life and why it is that she has these dreams of a black-haired woman standing at the roof of a house with her hair flying all around her, yelling, she is here, she is here, she is here. And meanwhile, there's the mad woman in the tower who is making maps of impossibly strange places that also say, she is here, she is here, she is here. And as the story progresses, all of these threads start to come together. So that is my book. I was going to read you I have 10 minutes left. Okay, I have 10 minutes left. I'm going to read you just a tiny bit, and then I'm going to have questions from you guys, because I know you guys have questions, okay? Does that sound good? One of the things that is fun for a fantasy author who used to be a theology major is that you actually get to make a brand new world, and you get to write things like this. Where is it? Oh, here we go. In the beginning, there was bog and bog and bog and bog. There were no people. There were no fish.
There were no birds or beasts or mountains or forest or sky. The bog was everything, and everything was the bog. The muck of the bog ran from one edge of reality to the other. It curved and warbled through time. There were no words. There was no learning. There was no music or poetry or thought. There was just the sigh of the bog and the quake of the bog and the endless rustle of reeds. But the bog was lonely. It wanted eyes with which to see the world. It wanted a strong back with which to carry itself from place to place to place. It wanted hands to touch and legs to walk and a mouth that could sing. And so the bog created a body, a great beast that walked out of the bog on its own strong, boggy legs. And the beast was the bog, and the bog was the beast, and the beast loved the bog, and the bog loved the beast, just as a person loves the image of himself in a still pool of water and looks upon it with tenderness. The beast's chest was full of warm and life-giving compassion. He felt the shine of love radiating outward, and he wanted words to express how he felt. And so there were words. And then the beast wanted those words to fit together just so, to explain his meaning. He opened his mouth, and a poem came out. Round and yellow, yellow and round, the beast said. And then the sun was born, shining just overhead. Blue and white and black and gray and a burst of color at dawn, the beast sang. And then the sky was born. The creak of wood and the softness of moss and the rustle and whisper of green and green and green and green. And then there were forests. Everything you see, everything you know, was brought into being by the bog. The bog loves us, and we love the bog. There are microphones right over there, so if anybody has a question, I want to answer it. But it has to go way down because you guys are short. Hi.
Hi.
What's your question, hon?
Can I?
Oh,
I have two aunts.
okay, go ahead.
Why did you decide to write this book?
Oh, really good question. Why did I decide to write this book? Well, I was out for a run one day and I had a vision of a swamp monster, and he had 4 arms and wide, damp jaws and eyes that moved independently of each other, and he was holding a daisy in one hand, and he recited a poem. And it was actually the last poem that is in the book. So there's all kinds of poems in the book. And the very last poem was from that one day, and I did not change a single word of it. And so I ran home, and I wrote the poem down, and on a card, and then I wrote on the back, Swamp Monster, and then I got a box because all of my books start with a box, and I put the card into the box, and then I thought, oh dear, this is a book somewhere, and it took me 2 years of just thinking about Glurk the Swamp Monster to try to figure out what the story was. So that's why. Thank you. What's your other question, honey?
Why, when these babies were filled with stars, the moon grew bigger?
Oh, because starlight is very special. You know, starlight comes to us from a very, very, very far ways away. And so as it moves through space and time, it becomes kind of blessed in the world of this story. So that's why. Good question. Next question, yeah.
Was there anyone in your life who inspired you to write the character of Luna?
Of Luna, really good question. So one of the things that I liked about Luna is that she is a prickly girl.
she is impatient and sometimes frustrated and has a lot of questions and knows that people aren't giving her straight answers all the time. And it fills her with, she's motivated by her own hunger to know, as well as her own tenderness of the people around her, as well as her frustration of not knowing things. And for me, I mean, Luna reminds me a lot of my own daughters. She also reminds me a little bit of me. And because I sometimes, when I was her age, when I was 11, I had a temper too. And so I see a lot of myself in her too. So great question, thank you. Yeah.
What is your favorite poem in the book?
Well, I mean, probably my favorite poem is the very first one that Glurk gave me. That is the last poem in the book. The heart is built of starlight and time, a pinprick of longing, lost in the dark, an unbroken cord linking the infinite to the infinite. I wish upon your heart, and that wish is granted. Meanwhile, the world spins. Meanwhile, the universe expands. Meanwhile, the miracle of the heart is realized in the miracle of you. So, anyway, thank you. Yeah.
I have two questions.
Yes.
My first question is, who's your favorite character in the book?
I would say probably my favorite character in the book is Firion, which I have to be careful about saying that because I almost wrote him out. And because I was worried that he was a disruptive character and I was worried that I would have to take him out of the story. And so I sent my editor an email saying, I'm worried that I might have to get rid of Firion. And she wrote back in 1 second and she said, oh, don't you dare. So I had to figure out how to make him, so I had to change some things in the book to make his character work. And so as a result, I feel this great tenderness towards him because I had to work so hard to keep him there. So anyway, that's probably why. Thank you. Yes?
Where did you get the inspiration for Firion?
For Firion, I think that, partially, what's funny about Firion is that I wrote him before I got our new dog. We have a dog who's a black Labrador. His name is Sirius Black. He's nothing like his namesake. He would not last 5 minutes in Azkaban. But it's funny because there's so much of my dog that is like Firion. He's just wants to be part of the group all the time. But Firion is also a lot like this kid I used to babysit for, actually, who thought he was very much like he was this tiny, tiny little kid, but he would always tell people he was 7 feet tall. So he comes a little bit from that kid too. Great question. Yes?
What made you choose the ending?
Oh, really good question. I'm not even really sure. I mean, for me, I don't do a lot of planning with my books. The ending is the ending because that simply was the ending. Like usually I can't see any other way. So you follow the story where it leads, and sometimes that simply is what it is. So yeah, I was happy about it though because I don't like endings that are too neat, and I wanted because in the end I think that there are no heroes and villains, that there's only good choices and bad choices, and that all of us have. It's incumbent on all of us to make good choices, right? And so even people who are villainous in the story have the opportunity and have the responsibility to make a good choice, right? So anyway, most of my books end in sort of similarly sort of ambiguous ways. So yes.
What was your reaction for getting the call from the Newbery Honors?
So here's the thing: what happens when you win a Newbery Award? They call you at 5 in the morning, and some people have an inkling that it might be them, that they might get that call, and so they are very smart and they actually wake themselves up so they don't sound like a moron when they talk. But what happened to me is that I had no idea at all, so I was deep asleep, And then my phone rang, and it was really loud because my kids had a few days before changed the ringtone of my phone to be the theme song to Wonder Woman, the old 70s TV show. And it's all, like lots of like 70s funk. It's a really great theme song. And so that was the sound that woke me up at 5 in the morning. And I answered the phone, and I didn't know who it was because it wasn't a number that I knew. And I was worried that something terrible had happened to like a family member, because I'm Irish Catholic. I've got a million family members, so you never know. And so I answered the phone, and on the other side was this room full of super cheerful librarians who were like, they were so exciting and they're cheering for me. And it took me a while to like actually process what they were saying. And all I could say in return was a bunch of nonsense. It was garbledy nonsense. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a sign that says wrap it up, which means I can't listen to all your questions, and I want to hear all of your questions. However, those of you who still have questions and you want them to be answered, I want to answer them. So there's 2 ways to do that. One, I'm going to go over to the signing line, so you can come over and ask me your questions then. Also, my website is kellybarnhill.com. The contact button goes straight to my email. You ask me whatever you want, and I will answer it for you, okay? Guys, you were amazing. What a great audience. A+ to everybody.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.